I'm recording my homily for the third Sunday of Advent for 2019, and each of the Sundays of Advent has a particular theme. Now this week, the theme is joy. So part of it is because we're halfway through the season, and so symbolically, there's joy in the fact that we've made it halfway through, so it's downhill, right? So it's the understanding is that the seasons are something serious for us, and so we're working hard on it. Okay, I am in Everett, just looking out over the water. The mountains, if you can see, are the Olympic Mountains, and the train behind me, I can't be at home without having a train. So there's a train down below who's constantly bleeding his brakes or doing something, making all kinds of noise. Okay. So joy. When I think of joy, when I think of our abilities to be joyful, now obviously this is about being joyful in the correct thing, right? This is about rejoicing that Jesus Christ is the center of our lives, rejoicing that Jesus Christ has come and will come again, right? So that's what we're rejoicing in. We think of joy in general. What I think of giving us joy is beauty. It's when we're in the presence of something beautiful. We feel joy, and we feel the desire to rejoice in the presence of that beauty. So you think of physical beauty. I love mountains, right? When I go hiking, I love hiking up to the top of the mountain so I can just look out over the vast array, just to look out over the beauty of everything God has created. I love that, right? And so for me, it gives me great joy. Now, when it comes to physical things, I suppose on some level there's a matter of opinion, what is beautiful and what isn't beautiful. But my question for you is, are there some things that are just beautiful no matter what? And it's not left to your opinion or my opinion whether it's beautiful. It's not completely subjective. There are things that are just objectively beautiful. And when a person does not see that beauty, what it means is that person has become ill. That person has become spiritually ill, or if you will, spiritually blind, right? Today in the gospel, when John the Baptist's disciples are sent by him to Jesus to ask him, are you the one that we've been waiting for? And Jesus says, you will know it's the one when he gives sight to the blind, when he heals the lame, when he preaches good news to the poor. These are all manifestations of beauty. Jesus is restoring the person's ability to see beauty, to see something beautiful. I could go up to a beautiful place, a beautiful mountain, and I could describe the scenery for you. But in the end, you want to see it for yourself, right? When somebody comes to you and says, we went on vacation to the Holy Land, or we went on vacation to Europe, and you say, do you have pictures, right? Because I want to see it. But even that's not enough, because you want to encounter the beauty. You want to enter into the beauty. And then from that, the person has the ability to rejoice, right? To feel that real sense of deep joy. I've been talking a lot about our teenagers and confirmation, and I've had some parents coming up to me, and I think we're right at that time in the year where things just start bubbling to the surface, right? Which is good. We want these things to bubble to the surface. But we got some kids telling their parents, saying, you know what? Why am I doing this? I don't even believe in God. I don't even believe he exists. Why am I in confirmation class? Perfectly good question. Why are you, right? What I bring back to the parents is for them to have confidence in knowing that what they're presenting to their children is worthy of their children's attention, and for us to find a way to heal the brokenness in their hearts. They become blind, right? One of my brothers used to live down in the Los Angeles area, and he would talk about how the mountains that are off in the distance, for the most part, you could never see because of the pollution. The pollution was just so bad, you could never see the mountains. Well, every once in a while, you get a strong westerly wind, easterly wind, whatever, but it would blow all the dirty air out to sea. And then you could see the mountains, and then everybody's like, wow, look at those beautiful mountains. Because they couldn't see them most of the year. And I think that's what it's like in the lives of our kids. there's so much pollution. It's fogging their brains and their hearts and minds and everything. And this contamination, so the word in Spanish for pollution is contaminación, right? Contamination. It's contaminating them. It's making them sick, spiritually sick. And so they're actually, you think about pollution, think of the example of pollution. If you have pollution one day, all right, and then you have pollution the next day, and then the next day, and the next day, eventually you stop looking for the mountain. And that's what's happening to our kids. If they have pollution in their life today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day, if there's too much noise pollution, visual pollution, moral pollution, sin, if there's too much pollution in their lives, eventually they're going to stop looking for God. And if you say, hey, there's a mountain back there, there's something beautiful back there, they're going to say, whatever. I don't believe it. I don't see it. Right? So when in these classes, and I'm talking to these kids about prayer, because we have them doing these holy hours. Now, a lot of the kids are doing really well. We have some kids, they're just like, what am I doing? Why am I even going into church? I just sit there. What am I doing, right? Well, that's like looking at pollution. It's like, well, what's so beautiful about this, right? So we have to clear out the pollution. When I was down in the Tacoma area, when I was down in Lakewood, there's an area called Spanaway, and down in Spanaway there's this neighborhood where everybody puts Christmas lights up, and they put tons of Christmas lights up, and everybody wants to see it. So driving through this neighborhood takes forever because everybody wants to see it. So there's literally a traffic jam of cars trying to get through the neighborhood, and people eventually they'll just park and just walk through the neighborhood, right? But everybody wants to see these beautiful lights, this beautiful neighborhood, because it's something that's obviously attractive to them. But this beauty is not just without meaning. It's not just visually beautiful, I think, for a lot of us. When you put up Christmas lights on your house, you're not just saying, hey, look at these beautiful lights. You're saying, rejoice with me. I'm celebrating Jesus Christ. He's here, right? Jesus Christ. That's what we're celebrating. There's a group of families in parish, and I was talking to them about how I always wanted to have a nativity scene outside the parish, right? Something that people can see, and I was thinking about how I would, maybe cut out the figurines so there's the silhouettes out of plywood, they could do that kind of a thing, and well, this group got together and decided that they were going to do it. Now, they plan to do it for next year. So they thought, well, we'll pace ourselves. We'll do it for next year. Well, then they got going and they're like, no, let's do it for this year. So this next weekend, they're going to be putting up these silhouettes. So maybe in my next video, you'll see them. But we're not putting up just silhouettes of cool things, a silhouette of a car or a castle. But no, it's the Holy Family, right? It's the Magi, it's the shepherds, it's Jesus, it's his mother Mary, it's Joseph, it's the star and the angel, because the beauty is deeper. It's the reality of those events in our life. So that beauty, appreciating that deeper beauty, gives us joy, right? When somebody shows great love for us, we see that as being beautiful. And so we rejoice. We rejoice in all of that. I've been reading about St. Catherine of Siena, and it's a great book. If you like biographies on saints, it's phenomenal. And it's by Ignatius Press, and I'm forgetting the name of the author. I always forget the name of the author. If you go on an Ignatius Press website, you can find the name of the book, or the book is St. Catherine of Siena. And the author is a woman. She's a Nobel Prize winner for literature, so it's really well written. But just reflecting on her life, I feel so excited about reading about her, because what I'm capturing from reading about her life is this mystery of holiness that I've always wanted, and I feel like I'm growing in, but in some ways there's like this chasm, right? I'm standing right on the edge of a chasm here, It's like this chasm that I can't cross. And I want to cross it. I want that level of holiness. And so the difference between where I'm at and where St. Catherine and St. Francis and all these great saints is that when they crossed that chasm, they then began to not just love in a great way or have great joy or have great peace in their life, but they began to be able to bring joy where there was no joy. They began to be able to bring peace where there was no peace, to bring beauty where there was no beauty, right? To bring purity where there is no purity. And so they don't just have it, they then are just manifesting it, they're sharing it. It's like an explosion of God's grace everywhere. And that's what I love. Because if you and I, if we try to be holy, then we try to white knuckle it. It's like, well, I'm going to do everything to be holy. I'm going to fast. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And that's not them. Them is to just be this fountain, this bursting fountain of God's grace. And so it's not all on their shoulders. They don't feel the weight of holiness per se. It's this ability that they learned to surrender, to just keep surrendering it, to keep letting it go, not to be hoarding it, but to be just letting it go. And so I feel like St. Catherine did that when she seeks out the people who are difficult, the people who are troublesome. I love that holy aggression, that spiritual aggression to go out and bring it. Aggression's the wrong word. If you think of a sports analogy, to be on the offensive, right? To not be on the defensive, but be on the offensive, and to bring God's grace out into the world. I think Advent is a great season for that, and Christmas is like, let's bring God's joy out into the world. And it's a great season because people are open to it right now, right? There's more openness to it right now than any other time in the year. So, this last weekend I was wearing pink, well, rose, right? But it's pink. I was wearing pink vestments, and they're actually quite beautiful. I don't want to say that publicly. They're quite beautiful. But when I was getting ready for Mass at St. Anne's, so St. Anne's, I know you can't see it, is just directly across the bay here on the other side of the land there. So the bay where St. Anne's is just right over there. Okay, so at St. Anne's, they took the bell out of the bell tower many years ago, and the bell's been sitting in the garage at St. Mary's. Well, the parishioners, when I came, they said, Father, we want the bell back in the bell tower. We want it up there, right? Now, to somebody who's very practical, as Americans, we're very practical, somebody who's very practical, we say, well, what for? Why are you going to spend all that money to retrofit the bell tower, to make it stronger, so you can put the bell back up there? Nobody needs the bell. We don't tell time by the bell. Nobody's waiting to hear the bell to come to Mass. Why do you want the bell? For them, it's about beauty. And I don't mean visual beauty, but it's about the fact that St. Anne's has a presence. There's something special that happens at St. Anne's every Saturday evening at 5:30, right? We gather and we celebrate the Eucharist. And to have this bell peal out over the bay so that everyone in the area can hear it every Saturday evening, I think is a precious thing. It's a reminder of beauty in the midst of the pollution in our lives, right? It's almost like the foghorn of the boat or of the light tower when it's all foggy. We need that. A couple of years ago, I went up with a mission team to this little native village up in Alaska, and when we were up there, some of the guys in our group who are construction guys, they noticed this bell was sitting down in the garage, and it was all disassembled. And so we kind of asked, I think we asked for permission. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. But we assembled it. We put it all together. We got it all nice, cleaned up, painted, and then we brought it out, and then we started ringing it. And we were just ringing it because it was really cool. We completed this project. But all of a sudden, these kids start coming out, right? And some of these little kids start coming out with their parents, and they're all curious to hear, where's this bell coming from? And it was so neat. And I have no idea if they ever kept ringing that bell every Sunday or when they had Mass, or I have no idea. But we were there. To me, it was creating and reminding people and drawing people to beauty, to Christ, the beauty, and then to rejoice in it. All right. God bless you all, and I will see you next week.